In 2026, the SEC will be playing a 9-game conference schedule. It's exciting, yet a little disappointing, I suppose. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this? And then, of course, we'll get into the structure. We're going to talk about that and much more. But then also let me know what 3 teams you would want to be the 3 annual teams for Oklahoma to play as they move into this new structure in the SEC. And, of course, the latest from fall camp. We'll get to that as well, and even the Sooners jumping in the recruiting rankings. If we've got time, we will get to all of this and much more. Hello, Oklahoma Sooners fans, college football fans. Welcome into Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. This is our Oklahoma call-in show. Of course, we are live. We're right now live on X, on my personal X profile platform, channel, whatever you want to call it over there. And we are also live on YouTube, Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. If you're watching on X, jump over to Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. Join us over there. That is the best way to watch the show because we will be cutting that X live stream right around the 7:15 mark. We might go a little bit later since we started a little late today, but we've got a lot to get to. There's a ton that we have packed into tonight's show. If you saw the promo on social media, we were going to be talking about a lot of other things, but then some big news jumped up. And then I was like, hey, you know what? We didn't even talk about some other big news that we'll also talk about, which is the playoff selection changes. We're going to get into that as well tonight, guys. We're getting closer to college football season, which means that it's just action packed all the way up and to and through college football season. So make sure you are tuned in tonight live on the YouTube channel. And of course, we have call-ins as well. You can always call in at 405-353-4535, or there's also a link down in the description below, and we're also posting it in the chat right now as I speak. So click on that link as well if you'd like to call into the show. We will try to pause throughout the show and get to your calls as well. So please feel free to call in throughout the show tonight. Again, that number is 405-353-4535. It will just ask you to say your name and then where you're from real quick. And just sit there and wait until I introduce you into the show. As long as you say your name and I can see you on my screen, everything should work just fine. Otherwise, feel free to click that link that is in the description and also in the live chat as well. I want to hear from you guys because there's a lot going on with the SEC changes, with college football. Just feels like it's never-ending changes. And it's a good thing in some ways. It's a bad thing in other ways. But, of course, for everyone who likes to tune in here on Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football, if you want to support the channel and get some awesome perks, check out our membership program for just $2.99. You can join the Sooner Nation membership tier, set it up, step it up to the Boomer Legends Club at $4.99 a month, and you'll get even more as a great supporter of this channel. And then if you really want to go all in, the Red River Royalty at $9.99 a month gets you all the perks while showing off that you're a diehard fan of the show. Click that link below down in the description and become a part of the family and support this channel as we keep on growing and bringing you more and more content and keeping you in touch with the Oklahoma Sooners. Let's get into it because the SEC dropped some big news today that they're going to be moving over to a 9-game conference schedule. This is something that SEC fans have been saying, why would we ever do that? Everyone else outside is making a big fuss saying, well, you need to because we are. And I'll get to all of that. But, of course, this big news came in college football today with specifically SEC fans being affected by this, that they made this big move. They're going to be moving to pretty much changing the landscape of the sport the way that it stands right now. And there will be no more question marks of whose schedule is tougher. And there will be no more question marks of, if the SEC is getting an advantage by only having 8 conference games and playing some of these FCS schools, all of that. There is no more debate. The SEC now has a very tough schedule ahead of them. Starting in 2026, Commissioner Greg Sankey announced that the SEC will officially move to a 9-game conference schedule and 9 SEC games. As if Oklahoma's schedule wasn't tough enough, they said, hey, guess what? We're going to make it even tougher. And so, of course, not just Oklahoma either. You look over at just about any team in the SEC and the tough schedules that they go through. There are some that have it easier than others. I think if you look around, one that comes to the top of my head, I think Tennessee has a more favorable. It's not easy, but it's a more favorable schedule than some. And there's many others. But now with 9 SEC teams, that you have to go against each year. It's going to be difficult. So not only that, but you also add in the requirement for each team to schedule at least one high quality non-conference opponent. So it has to be a team from the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, or Notre Dame. So pretty much a Power 4 program or Notre Dame. And so you've got one of the toughest schedules in all of college football already, but now you make it even worse when you now add this into the mix. And so, it's going to be a very tough schedule ahead. So for Oklahoma fans, if you're an SEC fan of any SEC school, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how this all goes. Now, here's how it's going to work. Let's break down the structure, and don't worry about rivalries. Those will still be here because the SEC, they're going to stick with that single standings, non-divisional structure, which I personally enjoy because then you don't have one division running the other. You saw that with pretty much any conference that had that division set up. They always had one division really taking it all. Ohio State, Michigan on that side of the bracket. Whoever won the big game there, that was the one that was going to take it all in the Big Ten. And then, the East running it for the SEC for a long time. And, it was all over the place. And so I do like the non-divisional structure. That is what the SEC is keeping too. Each school is going to play 3 annual programs, so 3 annual opponents, and that's what I want to hear from you guys. Who would you like those 3 annual opponents to be? Because we'll go through some of those and who they might be. So, you don't have to worry about it. They're also going to preserve some of the traditional rivalries that we all love. Of course, there's some of those non-traditional rivalries that are going to be taken away possibly, because you think of some of the obvious ones: Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma. All of those are going to stay there, but maybe that Oklahoma Mizzou isn't there anymore, which I'm sure that's probably going to be there for a regional game. But, maybe the Oklahoma Tennessee, I think that's been a fun little rivalry. It's been a pleasurable rivalry, if you would say that. So, I think that's going to be interesting. So the other 6 games, you've got 3 annual games. You will always play those 3 teams every single year, no matter what. Now, the other 6 games, they're going to rotate across the conference. So this means that every team will play every other SEC program at least once every 2 years. Your home and home matchups, it's going to kind of happen all within 4 years. So no more decade-long waits to see certain matchups. You're going to see them regularly. It's just not as regular as it normally would be. So, that's kind of the thing there. Now, the impact on the SEC that this gives, of course, this is massive for the league and really all of college football, because with the SEC, it's already been known for its depth. The SEC fans have already been arguing this point that the SEC is deeper. And I made this same argument here on the show. If I were to give you the 4 bottom feeders of any other conference, and then the 4, I'm saying quote unquote bottom feeders, because every year it's different. For the Big Ten, for example, would you rather get every once in a while get scheduled Maryland and Rutgers, Northwestern, Purdue, Indiana on most years, although Indiana, got to give them props where it's due. They look like they might have something figured out with Kurt Cignetti. We'll see. But, overall, would you rather that kind of a schedule lineup in the Big Ten, or would you rather playing against Mississippi State, and hearing the cowbells ringing? I'm talking, if you were to go on the road, which environments would threaten you more? Which ones would you feel like you had less of a shot? Going on the road to Kentucky at night is not an easy task. But they're not a top dog in the SEC. I'd say that they're one of the bottom teams in the SEC. Even Auburn on their down years. Would you really want to go? Do you really go down through that schedule, even for Oklahoma, and just say, Oklahoma taking on Auburn last year, for example, Oklahoma going to Jordan-Hare, we got this locked up in the bag? No, that's not the case. And that would just be silly to think that way. And so I think that overall, the SEC does have a fuller and a deeper, more talented overall than any conference out there. Now, it's not to take anything away. The top talent in the ACC and the top talent in the Big Ten is just as good as some of the top talent in the SEC, not taking that away from any other conference. They're also great. Anyways, looking at that, the SEC, it already has that difficult schedule, but now this format guarantees. This is a good thing and a bad thing for fans that don't want to see those marquee matchups, because it gives you a little bit of a heart attack. Guess what? There's going to be way more must-watch games, must-see games every single weekend. So fans really win. Players get to showcase themselves against the best of the best, the cream of the crop. The SEC has all of those great environments, which means you get to add one more to your schedule every single year. So, there's a lot of good to come from this for sure. So, it's a win for the fans and the playoff committee. They're going to have a lot to look at with quality wins and strength of schedule debates to sift through. And this is going to strengthen the SEC even more, where guess what? That this could lead to SEC teams having an even stronger case to make their debates and to fight their debates for why their team deserves to be in the college football playoffs. So, buckle up. 2026 is right around the corner, really. And, the SEC is really going to set the standard for college football. And, I want to hear what you guys think of this. Does a 9-game SEC schedule make the road to the national championship even more grueling, even tougher, or is this kind of the perfect balance of kind of tradition and competitiveness? I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you like this, whether you hate this. And I do want to make this note as well, because a lot of people are saying, yeah, but our conference is playing 9 games, so your conference ought to play 9 games as well. Now, this was really a relatively new concept to go to 9 games. Starting off with the Pac-12 that started this back in 2006. That's not that long ago. It's 19 years ago, but it's really not that long ago. Ahead of the 2026 season, that's whenever they started and kind of expanded to the Pac-12. And so they took on 9 games. The Big 12 took this on in 2011. So I believe that would have been the year after Nebraska left, if I'm remembering that correctly. So, in 2011, Colorado and Nebraska left at that point. Colorado went to the Pac-12, Nebraska went to the Big 10. So that's, again, not that long ago. And even more recently, the Big 10 just took this up in 2016, only 9 years ago. So the fact that, of course, in 2014, I think is whenever the Big 10 added Maryland and Rutgers, and so then they divided it into the East and West. I think for a while they had it Legends and what were the 2 groups they had their divisions named up. But anyways, they had theirs divided into East and West there because of that. And so, there's all kinds of, this is a new concept. That's my point. This is a fairly new concept. The Big 10 just took this on 9 years ago. That's not that incredibly long ago. Now, the SEC was just saying, hey, this has been tradition. Why are we messing with this? And they've been arguing that point for such a long time. And I don't think that's really argued that way often enough, but it is. It's a tradition that we're trying to screw with the schedules. Why would we bump that up? Of course, yeah, okay, well, we now have 16 teams in conferences rather than just maybe 8 to 12 that they were before. Okay, but why does that make it any different? Why should that affect the SEC? Because every other conference changed. You get where I'm coming with this. I just think that that's kind of ridiculous to sit here and expect one conference to change just because the other 3 did, the other 4 did, I guess, at one point there were 4 others, but this is where it's gone to. And so now the SEC will take on that 9-game conference schedule. And again, keeping 3 annual opponents and then jumping around to the others. So again, let me know what you think those 3 annual opponents ought to be for the Sooners. I'd love to hear your comments down in the comments down below. Of course, just a quick reminder to everybody who is watching on X. If you are watching on the X platform, we appreciate you so much for tuning in, but we want to invite you to jump over to the YouTube channel. Just search for Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football, and you will find us. We are live right now on YouTube. I know we're live right now on X, but we are about to drop that live stream on X. Makes things a lot simpler for us over here, and it brings you over so you can join in the chat. And then, of course, anyone willing and able to willing and able. I think I said that right the first time. Willing and able to call in. Feel free, call in. That number is on the screen. Otherwise, you can click that link in the description and also in the live chat as well. Of course, we're accepting callers. That number is 405-353-4535. So you can call in using that phone number and you'll be able to hear the broadcast going on just fine. All that fun stuff. And then you can also just wait for me to bring you in. You'll hear a loud beep. I'll bring you in. And, we'll get you on. Otherwise, you can easily click that link as well. So we're doing 2 methods here, making sure we're trying to watch a couple of different screens here. I've got 4 screens out in front of me so we can make sure that we see callers coming in tonight. So feel free, call into the show. We'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on the SEC changing their conference game schedule and their whole lineup there. Let's jump over to the college football playoff selection changes. This is something that is, I believe it dropped in the last week or so. And this is something that I just didn't really find time to really mention here on the show. And guess what? We're mentioning it now because, as we all know, the playoff expanded to 12 teams for the 2024-2025 season last year. And that first year, it brought a lot of excitement for some. Some hated it. Ultimately, I think college football fans liked more meaningful football when it came to a bigger football schedule with a bigger playoff. And, that there was definitely pros and cons to that. But so obviously a lot of controversy came with it. But, you think of the debates of whether SMU should have edged out Alabama, South Carolina, or Ole Miss, with that big debate that was going on. Did Indiana really deserve to be in there? Oh, they got mollywomped. I will defend Indiana and say they didn't get completely destroyed the way that the score or people try to make that out to be. If you go back and watch that game, if Jeremiah Love didn't have, I believe I'm saying the correct name there, if the running back, if he didn't have that huge 90-some yard touchdown, you take that one play out of that game and that turns into a much different game. But anyways, the fans were heated about all of, everything going on last season, lots of controversy. A lot of fans were also excited. I think every fan that was arguing that they didn't like the 12-team playoff, like myself, still enjoyed the 12-team playoff for what it was worth. More playoff games. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm going to enjoy the games, but I don't think 12 teams ought to be fighting for a national championship. That's just my argument. And we could go on another day. But anyways, those moments, along with all the questions of strength of schedule, kind of weighing out the conference championships, who deserves the top 4 buys, it all sparked kind of a major review on how teams were chosen and how they were ranked within that system. So here's what happened after the 2024 season and after the 2024-2025 playoff all wrapped up. What they did after January is they put together this college football playoff committee and kind of launched a 6-month review, a big review of just seeing how things went down, how fans reacted, whether they liked it, whether they disliked it, whether they absolutely hated it. They set up 2 different panels. One focused on analytics, metrics, all that kind of stuff. And the other one focused on membership policies, the procedures, kind of really that community base over on that side of things. And so after all the number crunching, after all the policy debates, after all the changes were officially announced on August 20th. So it would have just been yesterday. Man, I thought this was longer ago. And I have in my notes that this was just yesterday. I feel like I probably have the wrong date there because I feel like this was a little while ago that this came out. But anyways, let's kind of break down what some of these key updates were for the upcoming 2025-2026 season. So this season that is starting here in, let's see, 9 days. Is that right? 9 days. So we are Gentry Williams days away from college football, everybody, in Norman. Anyways, let's start off with the data, the metrics side of things. So first, the strength of schedule, that formula, it's been tweaked a little bit. It now puts more weight on games against quality opponents, so SEC teams and others playing tough schedule. We won't really feel overlooked at all. I think you're going to see an SEC opponent schedule like what Oklahoma has, that's going to weigh in a lot. So this really builds up to the point that I think a lot of media heads have been talking about, as well as myself, is that 9 wins with adding in the strength of record, the strength of schedule just a little bit more, that really could play into your favor even more with just 9 wins for the Oklahoma Sooners. So 9 wins could get you to the playoffs. I'm going to tell you right now, I think every Oklahoma fan out there would probably agree with me. I'm not happy with making the college football playoffs alone if it's only 9 wins. Now, if Oklahoma wins 10, 11 games, 12 games, makes the college football playoff, obviously that's a success. But if you're barely squeaking in, you're not content. You're happy that you made it, but you're not content making it there. So anyways, that the fact that they're going to take into tough schedules, they're going to look at that strength of schedule and kind of put a new metric that's kind of weighing heavier on that favors Oklahoma with such a tough schedule. And then on top of that, a brand new metric is coming in, which is the record strength. Now, this isn't just going to look at how you play, but it's going to see how you perform against that schedule. So you can have a terrible schedule, but you performed really well against that schedule. So, for example, Indiana last season, they just absolutely dominated all of the opponents, but then they got to some tougher opponents and didn't do so well. So that's going to weigh all that out. Let's use another one, for example, Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State makes it to the playoffs last season if we're using this new record strength. I might be wrong because maybe it doesn't take into effect as much as I think it should, but Ohio State did not perform very well against the good teams that they faced on their schedule, outside of maybe Indiana. I'll give you that one because I think Indiana was a good team. Anyways, they lost to Oregon and they lost to Michigan. Those were their two good games. They're good teams. And so because of that record strength, I don't think Ohio State would have made it in. Anyways, it's not going to just look at, again, it's not going to look at who you play. It's going to show how you perform. And so again, with Oklahoma, if Oklahoma's only winning by 1 point, but somebody else is whooping up on smaller teams, maybe lesser teams by several points, by 20 points, that's going to look good on their record strength. So anyways, big wins against big opponents, tough opponents are going to get rewarded even more. I think I went on a little longer than needed for all that. Second, the policies, procedures to all of this selection. It's kind of the recusal policy that's kind of been expanded to kind of make conflicts of interest a little bit more clear. So, if a committee member or their family is directly tied to a program, that's full recusal. There's no discussion, no vote for that team. And if your connection is lighter, like being an alum, the member can stay in the room, but it won't get a vote. And then there's going to be some idle teams, those who aren't playing in the final week, can still kind of move in the rankings, but only if the evidence supports it. So the blanket rule here is just accountability. You're not allowed to be tied directly to a team and go in there and vote on all the rankings and everything. So that's going to kind of change a little bit, which is something that I think a lot of fans can look at and appreciate. And then finally, the new member orientation, it's kind of shifted to October. That way, all 13 members will have 8 weeks of games to study before they even start practicing using this new system. So, and one more important note to kind of throw in there is that earlier this year, the College Football Playoff Committee also changed how the buys are going to be awarded. Instead of automatically going to the top 4 conference champs, they're now going to go to the top 4 ranked teams overall. So the conference champions are still going to be guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff with that 12-team playoff, but this tweak gives a little stronger non-champions a fairer shake to get that bye week, which may work out in your favor if you don't, I think all 4 teams that had a bye last year, I believe, lost. You had Oregon, they lost. Boise got that bye as well, didn't they? I'm trying to remember this. Been a little while. Georgia got the bye week. And who was the 4th? It was Arizona State, right? So yeah, you had 4 teams. All 4 of those teams ended up losing, if I'm remembering that correctly from last season. So that may not be a bad thing, because personally, when I saw that last year and saw how that all played out, I'm not so sure I want that bye anymore. I think I'd rather that bye just be taken away. Let me play a game and keep. You think about it, for the teams that won a conference championship, they went out and played a tough game, one extra game, and then went into the college football playoff. But they were building themselves up to all that momentum. That momentum was built up to the conference championship game, and they won that game, and they keep on building up all this momentum, and then that momentum is just ripped away from them. I think that's kind of silly. And so I think there needs to be a different way about going about that. Anyways, the conference champions won't just automatically get the top 4 spots. It's going to be based on your actual rankings at the end of the season. So to sum it up, the goal here, pretty much just fairness, transparency, kind of better tools on evaluating teams, to better metrics to evaluate the teams as well. And is it going to completely solve all the debates that are out there? No, probably not. Most definitely not. There's always going to be something to debate. This is college football. But the College Football Playoff Committee obviously wants something to do something about it, to show that they are listening to fans. They want fans to know that we don't want you just to tune out completely, because we do care about your viewership. We want you to enjoy what you love, because we also love this game as well. And so pretty much the breakdown of the College Football Playoff selection is that, we're going to see, ultimately, we're going to see how it all plays out, whenever the season kicks off. But until then, of course, I'll try to keep everybody updated and try to remind ourselves of all of this as we go throughout the show as well, or as we go throughout the season. Anyways, it's a slow audience tonight. I'm not sure what that's all about, but still, feel free to jump in that live chat. I'm gonna shout out Mars Jams because I see him in the live chat tonight. Mars, what's going on there? Sooner, right back at you. Don't want to just leave you hanging there. But anyways, feel free to jump in that live chat, and then of course call in as well. You can call in using that number or the link down in the description below. So the number is 405-353-4535, or you can use that link down in the description. Also posted in the live chat as well. So feel free to join us over there, and you can call in. Anyways, I've got more that we can get into. I've got more that we can dive down into and talk about plenty. I think there was some big news that was worth being touched on. And let's go ahead and dive into the latest from Oklahoma's fall camp. We've talked enough about just the SEC and college football as a whole. Let's talk about Oklahoma specifically, because like I said, we are only 9 days away from college football as we are currently live. And so that's exciting. That's an exciting time. And fall camp is coming to a close. And as we get closer to game one thing that we have been harped on and over again is we just keep on hearing the health. Okay. And again, I know we're going to keep on touching on health, not necessarily injuries. Okay. We're going to jump into that because it's some good news. It's good things happening, and that's worth mentioning. First up, running back Jaden Knott, one that gave everybody a big scare because he's a big-time playmaker. Everybody knows that he is capable of being a big-time player. The Cal transfer, he was fully back on Wednesday at practice and looked pretty sharp. And he's expected to play a major role in the Sooners' backfield this season. And honestly, while he was out, again, with him being out, I think Taylor Tatum was another guy that was out for a little bit, not really giving full reps in practice. You got to see, I keep on bringing him up, but you get to see a little bit more of freshman Torrey Blaylock, who's been very impressive and kind of climbing up the depth chart, if you will. Not necessarily that he's going to work his way into significant playing time or anything, but he's been showing the coaching staff that he's got talent, that he may be worth throwing out there in a certain situation. I don't know what his playing time is going to look like. Again, I'm going to stick by my gun and say that he probably won't play hardly at all this year. You might not see Torrey Blaylock on the field for one snap. I don't know. But he is impressive during fall camp, and he's been able to showcase that even more with other guys being out. So, as we get closer to time, I am curious to see if we see Torrey Blaylock on the field at all. And if not, we do know that he's got a bright future ahead of him. So that's very exciting, very fun stuff to know. Over at wide receiver, you got Zion Kearney, who was cleared from concussion protocol earlier this week and wasted no time making noise there in practice because sources were saying how he just picked right up where he left off, even hauling in a couple of big-time long catches during Wednesday's practice. Had a lot of fun watching some of those clips and seeing, they like to post just enough to get you hyped up, but they don't post enough to give it away to other teams and maybe shift it around as if they're working as Connor Stallions within the program or anything like that. And that's not a shout out, or that's not a dig at our week 2 opponent whatsoever. But anyways, big time news to see Zion Kearney coming back, because his return, it definitely helps stabilize that wide receiver room and that wide receiver rotation. And it helps out, and especially with guys that like Elijah Thomas and Ivan Carrion, who are making some strong pushes in his absence, making big time catches, one-hand catches, and just making some noise in fall camp from those two guys specifically. So those are a couple of guys that really benefited from that and kind of showed that we can rely on a deeper and more talented wide receiver room than I think we would have known otherwise. Some other good news is on the offensive line. You got Derek Simmons, who suited up for the first time on Wednesday, though he was pretty limited. It's good news to see him back out there, finally back from the concussion protocol. Again, he's had a lot of concussions in the past, so they were being very cautious with him, making sure that that's all taken care of before throwing him back out on the field. So good news there, back and looking good. In the secondary, you got both Robert Spears-Jennings and Gentry Williams. They kind of been both banged up here and there, but the expectation is that they're going to be totally fine, ready to roll by next week, and good to go by week 1. One more key returner to note is defensive lineman Grayson Halton. He has missed most of camp with some hamstring issues, but the plan is to have him back full speed, ready to go by week 1. So the staff is probably going to ease him in this next week or so, try to ease him in just a little bit. And especially with big games coming down the line, no need to really throw him in there. We know what he's capable of. We know that he's going to be just fine. So those are all good news on the injury front, something that we didn't get a whole lot of last season. So, if Nate's listening, Nate, listen, I know I said we're not going to talk about injuries. I can't not talk about injuries, right? And you're right about that. But we're talking about injuries that are going away. We're talking about the good news. All right. So we'll put a positive spin on all this, but plug your ears because here's some not so great news, but not really bad news. Okay. Not all of it's positive, but of course, everybody heard about this past week when offensive lineman Michael Fasusi had kind of a scary moment on Tuesday, went down and kind of passed out on the practice field. Everything seems like his vitals are totally fine. He's not really expected to miss too much. He might miss the rest of the week this week, but should be back next week and doing just fine. They're just going to take it careful with him and make sure he's good to go. Make sure there wasn't anything extra outside of, hey, it was really hot. He's a big dude. They're working extremely hard. And he has been working extremely, extremely hard. So, all good. With Fasusi being sidelined a little bit, you saw some offensive line shuffling around. Let me explain all of this just real quick. So first you had Jacob Sexton. You had Jacob Sexton who's back, which really helps. And it's kind of caused some moving pieces, moving around a little bit here and there. And then, of course, Ryan Foje, who worked at right tackle instead of the guard position. And then, of course, Logan Howland also kind of rotated between the right and left tackle. And so, right now, I would say from what I'm hearing, it keeps on kind of shifting around, but in a good way. But I feel like the big names that keep on being thrown out there that seem pretty consistent, kind of Sexton, Ozeta, you got Everett, you got Fabechi Wiwu, and then you've also got Logan Howland. I think those are your guys that seem pretty solid, that they've always been kind of right up there in the top. There might be some changes by the time you get to the week one, but it seems like a lot of good things, because the shifting around that we heard last season was because so-and-so is banged up and you need to replace him. So-and-so is not doing so well in camp. This year, what you're seeing is a lot of shifting around. Of course, one guy out causes a little bit extra shifting just to make sure everything's plugged up. But again, nobody's out for anything severe up there on the offensive line. Everything's just very minor and very cautiously taking that approach. So all good news there. And then, of course, as we get closer and we see all this, a lot of this shifting around has been because of good competition rather than just the lack thereof, which, we heard too much of that last season with lack of competition. This year, it is a lot of good competition. So anyways, moving away from any kind of injury front and going on to the defensive standouts, because the defense, it continues to shine. It continues to look really good. The freshman star, David Stone, he's playing his best football of his camp so far, anchoring that defensive line in a big way. And he's worked himself into a lot of great playing time. I think he's going to see a lot of playing time, significant playing time. And so very excited about that with David Stone, the guy who was in the transfer portal and came out within 48 hours, came back and he's making the most of it, doing a lot here late in fall camp. So love to see that from him. And he really has been helping a lot with that defensive line, that defensive front, and specifically in that interior. So big time there. And then another name that's kind of been thrown out there here and there throughout camp, but now seems like maybe making a little bit more noise than anticipated, is Owen Heineke, former walk-on who keeps on making big-time plays and getting his name thrown out there. He's really earned himself a spot and a role in a rotation. I don't know how much of a rotation he'll be in, but he's definitely one of those guys that you might see significant playing time and meaningful snaps this season. So to really sum it all up, the Sooners are getting healthier really just at the right time. Everything seems to be working out really well. Some stars returning and others making names for themselves in camp. Week one is right around the corner, and this roster just seems to keep on taking shape. But anyways, again, I know it looked like we had a caller jump in. If you jump in and you're calling in either with that link, the link is the secure backup. So if the phone number is not working, because I know we've had issues in the past with it, you can use that link. You will sit there in the green room basically until I get a break where I can add you in. So feel free to hit that call in link, and then of course jump in the live chat as well. And I'm going to pull something up as well, because I realized that we may even have some of you guys jumping in. I don't know how exactly that worked. We had a Q&A or however you want to call it, something in that live stream. And I don't know exactly how all of that works. So I'm going to try to check on that real quick as we're currently live. But yeah, so the big question for today, and I don't know if this changes anything on how you respond to it, but the big question was, who do you want to be the 3 annual opponents with the 9-game conference schedule? And again, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on who those 3 annual games would be. So feel free to throw those in there. And again, feel free to call in either by using that chat. I know we get some of you guys that call in and then you disappear on me. So make sure to stay called in. Don't worry if you're there. I will try to get you in as long as everything. And I'm refreshing both screens, making sure we're good on both of those links. So the link is the safe bet. The link down in the description below or in the live chat there. And then of course the call in phone number, if I can get that out properly. Those are a couple of things there for you to take a look at. Let's look at Oklahoma Sooners 2026 recruiting class. I know a lot of fans seem like they're not excited about this recruiting class, but I don't think fans really understand that this recruiting class has not really taken full form yet. This recruiting class still has a lot that could be added to it, and right now it just keeps on jumping up. And it's been worth noting that they were ranked outside of the top 40 for sure in the ESPN rankings. I think they were low 30s, if I'm remembering correct, in the Rivals rankings. And in the Rivals, I believe they jumped up to 21, and I think 27 after not even being ranked in the ESPN rankings. So this recruiting class really is, it's one that maybe started as maybe a middle of the pack, but it's quickly gaining momentum, quickly getting some guys in, some big names, and even with some opportunity for some big flips here currently that is really helping Oklahoma gain some momentum. So let's break it down, kind of tell you why this class seems to keep on trending upward. First, you've got the headliner, the one that everybody loved to see on his commitment, was Jake Krell, 5-star according to ESPN, 4-star over on Rivals, I believe. But he's out of Florida, and Krell has that explosive first step. He's that guy that is compared to a guy like R. Mason Thomas, and he's got that kind of a skill set that he's got a fast first step, that great bend around the edge and everything, and just that motor. He doesn't quit. He's one of those guys that is going to be the type of player to make an impact, an instant impact, the moment he steps on campus. Even if he's not getting playing time, he's making that room deeper. And honestly, I think he very well could be a guy that's going to keep on adding to it. I do see we have a caller, and we'll get there in just a moment. So just give us one quick moment, and we'll be right over to it. Of course, every great class needs their quarterback to build around, and Oklahoma has their guy in Bo Bentley from Salina, Texas. He's a 4-star dual threat quarterback with that arm talent that everyone is raving about. He's also got that mobility, that leadership that you want under center. So it's really what stands out. What stands out the most with Bo Bentley is his ability to improvise. Find ways to get the ball downfield, no matter how that may be. He gives Oklahoma a dynamic leader, someone who can really set the foundation for this entire class. And of course, not just a quarterback, because what is a quarterback without a playmaker on the outside? Here enters in Daniel Odom, the guy who's a 4-star wide receiver out of St. John's Bosco in California. He's a 6'2", 190-pound, speedy, shifty wide receiver who really brings a lot of length as well. Polished routes. He's kind of got I would say deceptive speed. I think that's something that I've seen on his scouting report a lot, which the more you watch him is very much that case. I think with Odom and Bentley, pairing those two together, that really gives a real good balance between quarterback and receiver duo that can really get fans excited about the future. Going down to the trench in the recruiting class, we got to talk about that with Brian Harris, the 6'3", 280-pound defensive lineman out of Florida, who's another key addition. He's a disruptive dude on the interior with really just, again, another one of those guys with a relentless motor, guy that just keeps on driving. And when you combine him with Krell, you got that interior and exterior on the defensive line. So Oklahoma suddenly has a strong foundation on the defensive front. And, obviously in the SEC and college football today, the winning is all in the trenches. It's everything. The trenches is everything for you. So really the 2026 recruiting class may have started kind of the middle of the pack, but now it's really starting to build momentum with elite headliners like Krell and Brent Bentley, Odom, all those guys. There's been so many, and I know sometimes we see a 3-star and we throw a fit about that, but I promise you, just watch where they end up, because there's a couple of those 3-stars that very well could be ranked 4-stars later on. And it shows like the caliper just keeps on building up, and it seems like Brent Venables keeps on getting his types of guys in, specifically on defense. But then, of course, that offense starting to add some big-time guys as well. And also, make no mistakes, Oklahoma is trending upwards. And based on how this season goes, you very well could see some flips coming during flip season as well. I'm going to get over to a caller. It looks like Burks. I'm pretty sure I saw Burks trying through the link, but now he's calling in through the number. Let me try to bring him in real quick. Burks, can you hear me? Burks, are you there? You might be muted there, Burks. I don't know if I can't quite hear you. If I can get you to try that link one more time, Burks, I'm gonna have you drop right now, but go ahead and try that link real quick. Let's see if that link works for you again. Yeah, I apologize, everybody. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. The first few times that we tried this phone number, that was a perfectly fine solution to get people in, but it is giving us fits. But hopefully, Burks calls back in. And looks like we do have a caller in the chat right now. We got Caden. Caden, can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening, good sir. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's going on, man?
Just got about home from Hardee's. Just had some Hardee's fries and a couple of chicken wraps. But how are you, good sir?
I'm doing all right. I had a steak earlier. I got like some steak right in the back of my tooth, and it didn't pop up until I started talking. But it's always a good problem to have.
Well, speaking of steak, Ohio State's about to have some Bevo steak August 30th, and we're about to cook Texas.
Yeah.
Week 1.
Yeah, I'm
And
interested.
I don't know, but I think that's the correct way to do the horns down to them.
Yeah,
So
horns down. You got it. You got it. We'll make sure to teach you guys that as we get closer to time.
yeah, and as far as you guys go, the SEC, ooh, that's going to be a tough conference this year. And I think I said it about a couple live streams ago or sometime about a while ago. I said, well, you guys, I'm just going to give you a heads up as a fan of the reigning defending undisputed national champion, Ohio State Buckeyes, to be careful of our brethren in the SEC known as the University of Georgia Bulldogs, because those guys do not play around on defense. And I've told to your counterparts in the SEC, the Alabama boys, and I've said will continuously ragdoll their opponents until someone isn't left standing. So I'm going to give you Oklahoma fans that wear the Boomer Sooner colors a little bit of a heads-up warning as new members of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a team that you got to watch out for. Georgia runs the SEC right now. It was Bama for a while, but it still feels like Georgia really runs it. And as long as Kirby Smart's at the helm, I don't doubt that that's I do doubt that that's going away anytime soon. So I think they're going to be around for a while.
But also, I'm going to just give a little word of advice to Oklahoma fans, since now you guys are in the SEC. Just be careful when you guys have to go to Athens, because that place is not friendly to be in. It is it's like it's like a Hell's Gate. Once you really get in there, then that momentum just starts moving in their favor, and then it's just like it overwhelms you. So I'm just going to give a word of a friendly piece of advice, because my counterparts in the SEC have not learned that lesson yet, and they still ignore my warnings. Yeah, I'm just going to be a friend from up north who just won a national championship, but I'm just saying, be warned, because Georgia does not like to play around. They like to cook, and they like to destroy.
Yeah, they don't mess around at all. I feel like so this year for Oklahoma, their road games are let's see, we've got Tennessee on the road. There's Alabama on the road, and I'm drawing a blank on what the third road game is now.
Ole Miss.
No, Ole Miss is at home this year. So let's see, you got Tennessee, you've got drawing a blank on who that third one is, but there's three on the road. I know somebody in the chat will throw it, but between those two, which one do you think is going to be tougher? Tennessee on the road in Knoxville, or Alabama down in Tuscaloosa?
I'm going to have to give you a 50-50 on that one because it could go either way for Oklahoma. I mean, okay, you guys had Tennessee at home last year with Josh Heupel returning to the first time in Oklahoma in over, I think it's been 20 years since he's returned to Oklahoma
It's been a
as
while.
Heisman winning quarterback of that 2000 Oklahoma National Championship team. But I will say this honestly. If y'all go to Tennessee and lose, I'll be shocked that y'all lose in Knoxville. And that's a crazy place. I'm going to tell you that. That's full of
Yeah.
crazy beer drinking, whiskey drinking, fatsos.
Moonshine, right?
Oh, yeah. And then Alabama, I'm just going to tell you, be prepared for when they sing Dixie Delight for like an hour because it gets annoying afterwards.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's like Michigan fans, like the little Michigan boys and girls who watch Sesame Street that will continuously sing their songs, which I'm telling you, you have to put your earplugs in or you have to like literally hold about 1,000 degrees worth of anger in your soul. So I'm just gonna say that as a warning.
Yeah, I definitely think between the two, they're both very tough atmospheres, but I agree with you. I think Tennessee's the team that would be easier for, not really easier, I guess, but maybe the most likely for Oklahoma to take down. And then, I mean, I do have a lot of faith that Alabama is going to be much improved from a season ago. So, I think that's going to be the tougher game. But as far as environments, I think they both go hand in hand.
Here's the sweeter part. You guys will actually beat Josh Heupel, the former Oklahoma Heisman winning quarterback, as a coach. So you one up the former Heisman Trophy winner quarterback at Oklahoma who beat y'all last year on a little revenge tour with Tennessee. So I guess you could say you have the accolade of beating a former Oklahoma legend in Knoxville.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to hang your hat on for sure. It's something I know. South Carolina was the third one. I just
South Carolina
came across. So there's another revenge game that one might be the toughest to really pick. It's an underrated tough game too.
South Carolina, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. You guys shouldn't have trouble with them. It's just because they get so wild in the third quarter, like especially like on third down, they will just start like cacaoing away, and I'm like, I swear to God, it's so annoying. But in my opinion, your toughest road game of the SEC would be Georgia and Sanford. Like I said, it's a prison yard, and I'm gonna warn you, it's a tough game against Georgia, especially any day, any time of the conference. So.
Yeah,
That's just my little heads up as a fellow member of a college football fan, but also a member of the national championship, undisputed national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. But I'm not gonna come on here and dog walk Oklahoma because I've already done that enough, and I'm ready for us to give Texas this old symbol right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw them horns down.
But also, whoever from the Big 12 wants to step up and play us in the national title game, we're ready to roll and ready to rumble. And that's all I got to say about that. So I'll leave it at that, my good sir. But it's always good to hear from you. As always, go Bucks, and we'll see y'all next time.
Go Bucks and horns down. Thanks so much for calling in, Caden.
Yep.
All right. Again, everybody, feel free to call in. Feel free to either click that link. I know we had Burks in there a little bit ago. Burks, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free using that link. Seems like the link is the best backup option. That's probably where we're going to go from now on. So feel free to jump in there, call in, and we'll go that route. We'll just end up taking that phone number off because it feels like that just keeps on giving us all kinds of issues. But anyways, feel free to jump in and join us here on the show tonight because we're going to go down through and check out. I see Sooner Cowboys hope it's OU Georgia for the SEC championship game. Man, if Oklahoma can make it to the SEC championship game, I don't care who it is. But Georgia would be nice to go in there. Again, that's another team that you can get revenge on, going back to that Rose Bowl matchup, and get a little bit of revenge from that. I know it was several years ago, but we're not letting go of that. We're not. This is a new team, yes, but it's still the same old Oklahoma on the side of the helmet. And you know what? We're going to make sure that we go in there and take what is rightfully ours. But anyways, everybody, I want to let everybody know I appreciate everybody so much for tuning in tonight. Again, thanks to Caden for calling in. From now on, we will only have the one call-in option, and it will be just the simple link that we're throwing in there. So instead of the phone number, because the phone number just doesn't seem to want to connect for us anymore. So whatever happened there, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, if you'd like to support the channel a little bit further, help us keep on growing, help us keep on finding ways to keep on giving you more and more content, make sure that you become a member today. Again, you can become a member for as low as $2.99 a month. If you get a coffee in the morning, that is way cheaper than just your single coffee. I have seen coffee prices. I get just a black coffee at the coffee shop sometimes if I'm on the go instead of making it at home. And I know for a fact that costs me over $3 at times, depending on where you go. So for sure, become a member today to help support the show. We appreciate everybody so much for tuning in. Quick word from Mark here at the Voice of College Football, and we'll be on our way out.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.